Welcome to Traineego Talks, our third episode. We see transformation in fitness industry all the time, but it requires a lot of determination, mindset, consistency, but sometimes also struggle. Today, I'm joined by Connor, whose story reminds us that transformation isn't just about the body, it's also about belief. Welcome, Connor. Tell us how you feel about sharing your story with us today.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. I feel like the journey I've gone on is something that most fitness professionals should go on. So yeah, I'm really excited to share my story and how everything unfolded on my journey.
Fantastic. So tell me what got you into fitness?
So I've always been into sports as such. So I've tried a number of sports from when I was younger. So from football, boxing, karate, cricket, just everything really. I was quite sporty. Football was always the one that stood out for me and always the one I stuck to. I was never really into the gym. Probably even into my later years, I was never really into the gym. And I guess what really got me into that was so seeing my dad sort of get ill and then pass away. So for me, seeing that happen really made me think, okay, cool. Now I need to really sort of, I would say, get in the gym and really focus on my health and fitness because it was never always at the start, it was never really about how I looked. It was always about how I felt at the start.
So obviously you've got a really powerful story to share with us, and I cannot wait, obviously, for our listeners to hear about all your journey. So you've started in a fitness, and then what sort of took you to the next step?
So I first started getting into the gym, and I was working at Sainsbury's at the time. So from starting in the gym, I then decided I didn't really want to work at Sainsbury's anymore. So I decided to take a PT qualification. So I took a step back from work, focused on that. And then I was probably working for like a year in the gym. And I guess you don't really learn too much from, I guess, the PT education side of things from the course. So I decided to invest in an education course, something that I believe every coach should do, is just further your knowledge. And then from there, I guess I met my coach, who still coaches me now. So I've been working with him for I would say nearly 2 years. And when we first started working together, he said to me, let's do a photo shoot. So that was, I believe, yeah, so it's about a year and a half to 2 years. We made the plans. So we went through growing phases, cutting phases, growing phases, cutting phases, just to build up to what would be a photo shoot prep. Um, the goal in mind was to boost my business, looking at the pictures to put onto posters around social media. That was the initial goal. But like we sort of mentioned, it's been more, I guess, a mental. It's educated me mentally and showed me what I can actually do rather than just the physique transformation itself.
Lovely, Connor. And you mentioned obviously the education course you took. How did that sort of impact your journey?
Yeah, so I think when we first start as PTs, we do the course and we sort of think we know everything. And then I decided to take the course like I just mentioned, and hearing the educators speak and educating us, because it was like a group of us, and you're just listening to it and like, I just don't know that much. So I believe it's made me a much better coach than what I was when I first started, for sure. And you're just continuously learning because I guess when you're working with clients, every client is different. Every client has a story, whether that be like a story I have, what journey they want to go on, whether they have limitations. So you have to sort of educate yourself around what client is in front of you.
So you mentioned that your main goal behind doing this photo shoot, your personal goal was to really boost your business as well. Was there anything deeper than that?
Yeah, so I would definitely say it was to show myself what I'm actually capable of. Because I mentioned something yesterday on my social media, and it was if you if you want to get somewhere, you have to do the hard things. Because to reach your goals, there are going to be hard things that you have to do, and it's basically that if everything was easy, everyone would do it, right? So for me, it was to show myself I can do the hard things that it took to get to the end goal. And I guess just to look the best I can possibly look, but also feel the best I can possibly feel in terms of determination and know that I succeeded.
I love this. So yeah, absolutely, we can do the hard things. But again, as you said, not everybody is prepared to go on this journey because it does require a lot. So we'll dive deeper into this. So what would you say was your biggest personal challenge in that phase throughout the photo shoot? And
Yeah, so like with sort of any, I guess, dieting phases that are, I guess, that strict, um, especially towards the end, I would say there was a few more struggles than obviously at the start. It was quite effortless at the start for me. Um, but yeah, sort of more so towards the end, I found that energy was quite low. And it was just about trying to manage that for my clients because obviously my clients are there. I need to support them just like my coach supports me. I would say more so there was a lot around food noise, and I learnt so much around sort of how to manage that. And for me, it was trying not to scroll through social media and see like food reels because the moment you see that, then it's the food noise. You're going to be hungry because you're seeing nice food, and it's trying to take yourself away from being fixated on food because you're in a dieting phase. You're at the end, so calories were super low, cardio was super high, and you're going to be hungry. You're going to be tired. You're going to be thinking about food. So it's just trying to do stuff to distract you from thinking about that. So I guess my biggest struggle was around the sort of food noise energy towards the end.
I believe as well, like food is obviously quite difficult part, but then also many people don't know when you're actually preparing for such a thing. It's you can't just stop your life, and you have to still go to work, care for your clients. So how did you sort of balance this in your life?
Yeah, so it was trying to, I guess, spread my one-to-one sessions out as much as I can, and to allow me to have sort of breaks in between. Um, that was sort of how I would manage the energy side of things is front loading a lot of my stuff into the early part of the day. So trying to get as much done early because I would notice that my energy would drop off towards the evenings. So I knew for myself that if I could get everything done in the morning, I could sort of relax towards the evening. That would be the sort of way that I would go about it. So it was quite easy to manage for me. It was just I didn't want to feel like I was letting my clients down if I had to sort of reschedule. But very rarely we wouldn't have to. It would just be they would understand the I guess the journey I was on, but I would also give them everything I had in terms of my energy.
Sounds like you were really well prepared, and planning, I think, is essential. So, can you talk us through your preparation for the photo shoot? What did you obviously have to go through, and I mean, you mentioned obviously cutting, reducing food, but
Yeah.
is there anything else you like to share?
So like my journey would be very different to someone else's photo shoot prep. So I can't speak in absolutes. I don't really like to speak in absolutes because everyone is different. So I guess for me, I got down to quite a low calorie point. So my training days, I was down to like 1,300. And then rest days, I was on like 1,000 calories with an hour of cardio 5 times a week. So we're looking at 5 hours of cardio through the week and then calories quite low. That was the lowest point I got to. We probably got there in the last, I would say, 3, 4 weeks. But obviously, the starting point was a good was a good starting point in terms of calories were still quite high, energy was still there. And it's just as things sort of plateau, you just take a little bit off. I just let my coach basically decide the process and I just follow it as like a client should. And I think that's another thing what's like some coaches will struggle with having a coach is letting your coach take the reins. And during a photo shoot prep or competition prep or something, you just have to let them take the reins. They let them make the decisions because you're at a point where calories are low, energy's low. You're If you're trying to coach yourself, you're going to be making the wrong decisions because your thoughts are all over the place. You won't think you're ready. Then you might try and pull some calories away, push some cardio up, and you can end up ruining the end look.
So obviously having support is wonderful. So it sounds like you really need to have a coach to do such a thing. But tell me, how did you prepare mentally? Because obviously that's a big part of it.
Yeah, so we had a conversation at the start of the photo shoot prep, and my coach just re-emphasized the point that like the prep doesn't have to be lonely. Like you can still go out, enjoy time with your friends. So I like to go fishing. So my coach said, still do it, still go out, still enjoy that time. We just follow the plan while we're there. So I would still have my food because I would have everything prepped anyway. So I knew what I had to eat. I had it there. So there would be no chance of me going off plan in terms of food. It would just be more so take the time to go out with your friends to mentally reset. So it was more so like prep. The prep won't be lonely. You don't have to miss out on social occasions. You just have to learn to manage them. So.
And Connor, the people around you, like your community or your clients and your peers, they understand what you were sort of going through, what you were trying to prepare for.
Yeah, so I sort of basically ran through everything with my family at home and just said like this is what I'm going to be going through. It's going to get tough at times. There are going to be times where I guess I'm not my happy self. But that would be mainly because of an energy standpoint or a hunger standpoint. Like I'll be hungry, so I'll probably be a little bit moody. Is what I said. So they understood. They was there to support me through the whole journey. They would try and limit sort of, I guess, having certain foods in the house just so it would help me. So I guess the whole snacking side of things, the calorific sort of foods, just sort of foods that wouldn't mind that I would be missing. So they was quite supportive, and then everyone at work obviously knew what I was going through, knew the reasons why. So they were supporting me. It was always like every day, keep going, you're nearly there. So yeah, there was a massive support from everyone around me.
Oh, that sounds great. I think that's super important. And when did you have a moment when it kind of really got hard and you wanted to keep the consistency? How did you overcome this?
So it's a very good question. So there were times where I would be on the Stairmaster, and I'll be like 20 minutes in and I'll still have 40 minutes to go, and I'll be like, this is tough. But the goal is bigger than the challenge for me, and it always was. So I knew that I had to sort of stick to it. and not just knew I had to, I wanted to. I wanted to do it for myself. So I sort of had a few people in mind. So I owed it to myself. I owed it to my coach because he was the one that believed in me to basically say, let's do a photo shoot. So he knew I could do it. So I owed it to him, owed it to myself. And yeah, I just guess I owed it to the people around me for being so supportive. Because at that point, you're nearly there. You might as well just finish it off.
Your story is so unique, and when you're talking about this accountability as well, which you had with your coach, is so powerful, and you feeling like, listen, I owe it to my clients and to myself. So what would you say would be one of those points where, if someone wants to do something like that, and that the belief, or they don't have their self belief, what would you sort of suggest for them to do?
Yeah, so I actually have a client now that off the back of my photo shoot, I suggested let's do one. And that client has obviously said that they want to do one. So that's quite a powerful message that I guess my photo shoot has sort of showed to my clients as well. And like if I can do it, they can do it. I guess it just takes someone to believe in you to then say, actually, I should believe in myself, is I guess what it took for me. It won't be the same for everyone else. What it takes for them to believe in their self can come in different forms. So it might be what someone says, it might be what someone does, it might be from their own actions. But I would say definitely weigh up the positives first before you sort of take any negatives into account. Because with something like a photo shoot, I believe it takes a lot more determination than sort of like a dieting phase towards the end as such. But if you can do a dieting phase, you can do a photo shoot prep. It's just having the belief in yourself and telling yourself that actually I'm capable of doing hard things. So I sort of like to take it back to what else in my life have I done that's hard, and how can I compare it to a different kind of hard. So if I've done that and that was hard, surely I can do this.
So tell me, obviously, you achieving your goal and being able to do what you set to do, how did this boost your confidence and self belief in yourself?
So in terms of how did the photo shoot prep boost my confidence? I would say I would say just the small goals that we were sort of reaching throughout the prep. So having them small landmarks and seeing your physique change over a period of time. I noticed with myself that a lot would be changing more towards the end, and just seeing them slight changes in your physique can be like, actually, things are going really well. And I just took things day by day. And I believe that's the best way you can do it, because things are going to change daily. You'll come up with different kind of hards on different kinds of days. So every day is a different challenge. So I think there was a day during my prep where I got sick, and I had to take a couple of days off training. And I hadn't taken days off training other than my rest days in quite a while. So for me, it was like a mental challenge of, oh, what's this gonna do for the end look? Like, I've literally just got ill and we're not that far away from the shoot day. So it was more so talking to the people around you, talking to your coach, and sort of saying like, this has happened, like what's obviously going to happen. And it was always, look, we're in a good place, let's just see what happens when we return to 100% and we can sort of get back in the gym. It's just, I guess, taking the challenges and then sitting down talking with your coach or yourself if you decide to do it alone, and just sort of analyzing, okay, cool, why was this a challenge, how can we move forward from it, what are the solutions.
So having more adaptability and sort of being able to navigate through the difficult times and knowing that there's a path to obviously be able to move on.
Yeah, so the way I like to have looked at it is there's always light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. It's the challenge that you're facing there and then is not going to be the challenge that you're going to be constantly facing. So the challenge will ultimately get easier, but then there'll be another challenge. Um, and it's a constant cycle of challenges, especially towards the end. As a coach, I guess you're always questioning whether you're ready, whether you're taking your best look. So yeah, so it's always a mental battle with yourself to just say, we're in a good place. Let's just stop stressing, because the worst thing you want to do in a photo shoot prep or any sort of dieting phase is stress. You want to make sure you're calm, you're relaxed, and everything is flowing as it should. Because the more stressed you are, the more stressed your body is. It's just gonna sort of, I guess, take some away from that end look.
Fitness industry is very based on appearance and obviously genetics. How did it sort of impact your journey?
Yeah, so I guess sort of with that, it's like you can probably be one of the most educated coaches, but if you don't look the part, people are not gonna really see that like visually. Um, so you do have to sort of walk the walk, and show that you've been on these journeys before. So I feel like there should be a balance between your appearance and your education. And as a coach, you should have to walk the walk. So if you have a client coming to you for fat loss and you haven't ever dieted before, how are you meant to know what that client's going through, what they're feeling at what stages, and just whether you're making the right calls for them? And it would be like anything else. If a client come to me for like, I guess, Olympic weightlifting, I've never like sort of, I guess, had any experience in that field. So I would have to outsource, try and find some knowledge, or maybe just like sort of ask that client if I can send them to another coach that maybe like sort of, I guess, has an expertise in that field, or just come to sort of some, I guess, an agreement with the client and say, look, this is my first sort of, you're my first client within like Olympic weightlifting, so to speak. So it's going to be new to me. Do you trust me? And I can sort of go away and I can sort of learn with them. So yeah, I guess in terms of like the question, I guess it's just walking the walk, and having a balance of education and physique.
After completing your photo shoot, have you noticed your clients acting differently or sort of behaving differently or having different perception of
Not
yeah,
really.
no?
I guess that I've seen in a few of them is quite a little bit more drive. I guess obviously seeing what I went through and the work that I put in has maybe made them want to work that little bit harder, and I guess to show the fact that they're serious as well. But I wouldn't say like it changed dramatically, because the clients I have always come to the sessions, they always put in the work. And most of the time they sort of follow what I sort of say, so to speak. But I guess the community around me obviously saw what I'd been through, and it was loads of comments towards me. It was very, I would say, sort of overwhelming at the start, because once you've come out of that photo shoot, you're sort of like, oh, it's done, it's finished. All the 16 to 20 weeks work has sort of come to an end. But really, the work is just starting, because now you have to sort of reverse out of it, get yourself into a good standpoint, like bring your health markers back into a good place. So, yeah, I would say for me, the community around me just pushing me to keep doing what I'm doing, to keep working harder. And I would notice that some people would sort of be training that little bit harder around the gym. Yeah, more conversations with me. and a couple of clients off the back of it as well.
And tell me about your feeling. How did you feel after you completed photo shoot? That must have felt amazing.
Cool. So I guess the moment it sort of finished was like, it was quite emotional because for me it was cool. It's hard. It's done. But it's like, it's over now. Like the 20 weeks that I put in has now come to an end. Like what's next? And that's when I think having a goal and sort of take a day, 2 days to yourself, reflect. So I sort of went out for a meal by myself just to reflect on the whole journey I'd been through. And then I spent some time with my family. And then later on that week, after I'd had time to reflect, sort of what went well, what I could have done better, um, then I had a call with my coach and we was like, cool, we need another goal. Because you don't want to sort of, I guess, dilly dally around with no goal and no direction. That goal is gonna sort of drive the next phase out of you, and to make sure, I guess, you nail that next phase, which is obviously the reverse phase. So yeah, having that goal really made me sort of think, okay, cool, let's stay locked into this now. So yeah, quite emotional when it finished because it's like it's over. All that hard work.
And what did you kind of learn about yourself through the whole, process of preparing? And because it's physical but mental as well.
Yeah, so there was a couple of points that I really took away was discipline, um, and how much discipline I actually had to get to where I got from where I started. So like my starting point, I wouldn't just say from the start of prep. I would say probably the start of where I actually started when I started working in the gym to the photo shoot. Like looking at the pictures and the before and afters was just like wow. So the discipline to get from there to the photo shoot was one thing I really learned. And then I guess it's just um is like gratitude. And I guess just telling yourself that you did well is a massive thing because you have to be kind to yourself. And if you've done something that hard or that difficult, whatever it might be in life, you need to tell yourself, okay, cool, I did well there. But then you also need to take time to reflect. And that was another thing I learned was reflection and how to reflect on things properly. Because I think sometimes people get lost in just reflecting on maybe negatives or just on positives, and there's not much balance. So taking away what I could have done better and then sort of making a plan of action in terms of how I would basically do it better next time.
I love that because yeah, we constantly just driving forward, heading towards new goals and taking time to reflect, as you said, being kind to yourself and grateful for what you achieved or what you've done is so powerful. Um, so what would be one piece of advice you would give to someone who is really struggling with self-belief?
So for me, it was just about sort of setting yourself, I guess, smaller challenges first, and start with something that's, I guess, pretty attainable. So something that you can achieve pretty easy, and that would be your first challenge. And then it's just taking that step up the ladder, sort of making it harder that little bit every time. And once you probably get 3 or 4 challenges down the line, you're going to be like, actually, I can do it. And I can do these hard things. I can challenge myself. And that's sort of the way I challenge myself. So I like to think of it as like if you're training, you're just always taking that step up. So then progressions is, I guess, a challenge. So if you can take them progressions, then you can take the next progression. So I'm always believing that I can do better. And I think that's a good way to look at it, is if there's something in life that they've struggled with, you've overcome them challenges. You can overcome what else is going to be next, because there's always going to be challenges, right? I heard an analogy about like a road is never straight. There's always going to be twists and turns. There's always going to be roadworks, roadblocks. So they're your challenges. You need to overcome them. And that analogy stuck with me, I guess, for a good couple of years now. It's always like, okay, cool. There's always going to be something next. So it's about forward thinking, and just preparing yourself for a challenge. Like, you're not necessarily going to know what it is, but there's going to be a challenge there.
I agree. I think it's on, and especially that's a growth path as well. So when we come across those challenges, this is where we grow and get better.
Yep.
So tell me, obviously you said there's something next for Connor. What's the next thing you've got lined up for yourself? What's the challenge for you?
So obviously, with the first sort of goal was to just sort of reverse out of the photo shoot phase, get healthy again, get energy in a good point, stay relatively lean is what was asked of me, and I've managed that quite well. So probably nailed the reverse phase pretty well. I guess the next goal now is to compete. So sort of a goal in mind. There's a time frame in mind. It's But again, with something with a long sort of time frame, things can change in between. So obviously, depending on how my body composition stays, we might be in a growing phase for a bit longer, maybe a bit less. But the goal in mind is obviously to get on stage and compete.
Fantastic. Well, I'm super excited for you. It's lovely to have that goal in place. Tell me, have you thought about how you could personally share your story? Because it's really inspiring. Have you thought about maybe using it on social media, or maybe some creating some powerful courses which could be beneficial?
Yeah, so I work with a few people online as well. I sort of shared my story on social media, I guess, after the photo shoot. So I shared some of the pictures. I haven't actually shared as much detail as what I have today. So from what a lot of people have heard, they haven't really heard, I guess, the ins and outs, my struggles, what I found easy. So it's not really something I've put out there until obviously doing this podcast today. For me, I guess I haven't really thought about doing sort of courses. Um, but what I offer within my coaching is like, if someone wanted to go along that journey, it would be something that we can go on together. So as my coach helped me, I would help them. So, but not something I've thought about actually putting out as a post as such. There was like a sort of idea to put something out there eventually, and just when I was ready. I guess now for me, it's sort of documenting my journey to the stage now. And that's something I'm working on putting out on social media as like a weekly sort of, I guess, reel, is to show how things are week to week leading up to, I guess, when I compete.
Right. If you could share one thing with obviously our listeners, which they could learn from your story and your preparation, what would it be, Connor?
So the one thing, if I could only choose one, it would be to believe in yourself, because you're capable of a lot more than what you think you are. The body is an incredible thing. Your mind would probably try and hold you back just because of past struggles. And it's just about overcoming that. So for me, it's always just believing in yourself. And like I said, taking them small challenges, stepping up that ladder, making the challenges that little bit hard, and then just developing that self belief.
Connor, so for anyone listening today, how could they follow you or connect with you?
So I guess on my Instagram is probably the best, is underscore coach by Connor. They can put the link up if they want. That would be the best place. And then if there's any questions off the back of anything I spoke about today, like I'm happy to answer, I'm happy to help. If this sort of story could help just one person, then I'm very happy. If it can help a number of people, then I'm very happy. So
It was an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for coming.
thank you for letting me share the story.